Hey, deep divers. You guys ready for a deep dive that might actually blow your mind?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Awesome. All right, so today we're tackling the question that has been on everyone's mind recently. Is Donald Trump a fascist? We've got this super interesting Daily Beast article that just completely rips apart this Fox and Friends segment where, they're basically like, fascist, Trump, no way.
Yeah.
So get ready for some serious allegations from Trump's own chief of staff, some wild quotes about immigrants, and even a little Ronald Reagan twist.
I am very interested to hear about that Ronald Reagan twist. But yeah, the context here I think is really important. This Fox and Friends segment is basically like a reaction to some pretty serious accusations.
Okay, give me the details. What's going on?
So the article points out that this whole denial thing on Fox and Friends comes after John Kelly, Trump's former chief of staff. He basically just dropped a bomb. He flat out said that Trump ticks all the boxes for fascism.
No way Kelly actually came out and said that.
Yeah, he did not hold back. He even claims that Trump had some really, let's just say, not so nice things to say about Hitler.
Whoa, praising Hitler.
Yeah.
That is not a good look for anyone.
Yeah, and, it's a pretty big deal given, Hitler's role in far-right ideology. This is not some obscure historical figure.
Yeah, exactly. So we have Brian Kilmeade on Fox and Friends, just super passionately defending Trump. He even read the dictionary definition of fascist on air.
It is an interesting choice.
Yeah.
Well, but the article goes on to say that Kilmeade tries to spin things, right? Like he actually claims that Trump pushes the far right towards the center.
Wait, seriously? Did he provide any, actual evidence for that?
Well, that's where things get a little more interesting, I guess. The article calls out Trump's, kind of long history of associating with far-right figures. People like Nick Fuentes, you've probably heard of him. He's known for, denying the Holocaust. And then there's Laura Loomer.
Oh, Laura Loomer, yeah, the queen of conspiracy theories.
Right.
And Islamophobia. What did she get up to this time?
Well, the article talks about how Trump invited her to a 9/11 memorial.
Okay.
Just days after she made some seriously bigoted comments about Vice President Kamala Harris's heritage.
It's wild. Even some of Trump's most die-hard supporters, like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lindsey Graham, even they thought that was too far.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely raised some eyebrows. It does kind of, it shows you that associating with someone like Loomer is not just about pushing the far right to the center. It's about normalizing those extreme views.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess this argument that Trump is some sort of moderating force doesn't really hold water. But what about Trump's own words? Right? Do those back up this fascist label?
Oh, yeah, that's where it gets really juicy. The article highlights some of Trump's recent rhetoric as evidence against Kilmeade's claims.
Okay, so give me some of the highlights. What kind of stuff are we talking about?
All right, well, there was that time Trump called for CBS to be shut down just because he didn't like how they edited a Kamala Harris interview.
Oh, wow. Okay, trying to silence the media because you don't like what they're saying? That does sound a bit dictator-ish. No.
Yeah, a little bit, right. And then there are his comments about Haitian migrants. He called them savage criminal aliens. And he even spread this crazy rumor that they were eating pets in Ohio.
Oh my gosh, yikes. That's just blatant fear-mongering and dehumanization, isn't it?
It is, and it's like textbook far-right tactics. Scholars actually consider that, this kind of exclusionary nationalist rhetoric aimed at immigrants, a classic sign of fascism.
Wow. So Kilmeade is over there painting this picture of Trump as a misunderstood moderate, but Trump's own words and actions tell a completely different story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it really raises the question, if actions speak louder than words, where does that put Trump on the spectrum of far-right politics? It's a question worth thinking about.
It really is.
It's really interesting how Kilmeade tries to, deflect from all of this. He throws in this curveball, and he brings up Trump's Make America Great Again slogan.
Wait, what does Meiji have to do with this?
Well, he claims that the slogan actually originated with Ronald Reagan.
Oh, right.
Reagan's version was, Let's Make America Great Again. So, pretty similar.
Huh. I never knew that.
Yeah.
So is he saying that because Reagan used a similar slogan, Trump can't be a fascist?
That's basically the gist, yeah. He's trying to argue that if Reagan, this beloved conservative icon, wasn't labeled a fascist, then using a similar slogan shouldn't automatically make Trump one either. But it's a classic tactic, trying to borrow legitimacy from a respected figure, even if the comparison doesn't really hold up.
Okay, I see what he's doing. But how similar were Reagan and Trump, really?
That's the key point, right? The slogan might be similar, but their overall approaches were totally different. Remember how we were talking about Trump's rhetoric on immigration?
Yeah, the animals and criminals.
Right. Well, the article contrasts that with a quote from Reagan's final speech. He actually celebrated immigration as the great life force of each generation of new Americans. He saw it as a strength, the positive thing.
Wow, that is like the complete opposite of Trump's fear-mongering Kilmeade is really reaching with this comparison.
He is, yeah. Reagan's vision was about unity and optimism, while Trump really thrives on division and fear. It's a textbook example of how a catchy slogan doesn't tell the whole story.
For sure. So we've debunked the Reagan comparison.
Hmm.
What other gems does Kilmeade pull out to defend Trump?
Oh, get ready for this one. He tries to argue that Trump can't possibly be a dictator because he spent his whole presidency trying to figure out who was trying to undermine him.
He's serious.
Yeah.
He's saying that Trump's paranoia about enemies is proof that he's not authoritarian.
You got it. It's almost too ironic. Trying to eliminate political opponents, whether they're real or imagined, is literally a hallmark of authoritarian behavior. So Kilmeade's argument kind of backfires in a spectacular way.
It's like he's unintentionally making the case against Trump.
It really does seem that way. It's like he can't defend Trump without accidentally highlighting those very concerns that people have about his authoritarian tendencies.
So after all this, does Kilmeade have a change of heart? Does he admit that maybe, just maybe, Trump leans a little bit fascist?
Not a chance. He doubles down. He claims that, Trump is just a victim of political games and that people like Hillary Clinton and James Comey were out to get him.
It's the classic Trump's just misunderstood defense.
Yeah, it really highlights how difficult it is to have a nuanced conversation about this topic in our current political climate. Everything just gets so polarized.
It feels like we've fallen down this rabbit hole of political spin with this Fox and Friends segment. But hey, that's what we do here on The Deep Dive. We unpack the messy stuff.
Absolutely. And while we've dissected Kilmeade's arguments and seen how Trump's own words contradict this image of him as a moderate, there's still more to unpack.
Yeah, you're right. We've exposed the flaws in this whole Trump can't be a fascist narrative. But the bigger question remains, what does all of this say about the power of political rhetoric and how it shapes our understanding of these complex issues? Stay tuned, deep divers, because we're going to leave you with a final thought-provoking question that will get those brain gears turning. Okay, deep divers, we are back and ready for the final round of our epic battle against political spin.
Let's go.
All right, we heard Kilmeade's defense of Trump. We saw how it, totally crumbles under scrutiny. And now it's time for the big takeaway. What do we learn from this whole wild ride?
I think what's really striking is how this whole thing boils down to the power of rhetoric. Kilmeade is trying to use language to create this very specific image of Trump.
Right.
But does that image match reality? That's the question we all need to be asking ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. He's trying to rebrand Trump as a moderate, even though, Trump's own words and actions are kind of saying something totally different.
Yeah, exactly.
It's almost like watching a magician try to pull a rabbit out of a hat. But everyone can see it's just an empty hat.
Exactly. And that's where things get tricky, right? Because if we only rely on rhetoric to define someone's ideology, it kind of opens the door for all sorts of manipulation and distortion.
Yeah.
We have to look beyond the surface, beyond the catchy slogans and the carefully crafted sound bites.
It's like that saying, you can put lipstick on a pig, but it's still a pig.
Yeah.
You can try to dress up these extreme views with fancy language, but the core ideas are still there, lurking underneath.
It's a great analogy, and it highlights why critical thinking is so important, especially in today's political landscape. We can't just take someone's words at face value, especially when those words are coming from someone with a vested interest in shaping public perception.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do we become more discerning consumers of political rhetoric? What are some red flags we should be looking out for?
Well, one thing to look out for is the use of loaded language.
Yeah.
Words like fascist or socialist get thrown around so much these days.
Right.
But often without a clear understanding of what those terms actually mean. It's easy to just slap labels on people without really engaging with their ideas.
Right. It's all about you're creating fear and division. Another tactic is that whole guilt by association thing, like how Kilmeade tried to link Trump to Reagan based solely on, a slogan.
That's right.
Even though their approaches were completely different.
Exactly. It's a way of deflecting criticism and creating this false sense of legitimacy. We have
Yeah.
to be aware of these rhetorical tricks and be asking ourselves, what's the agenda here? What are they trying to distract us from?
So deep divers, the takeaway here is don't be fooled by the fancy words and the manipulative tactics.
Right.
Look beyond the surface, do your own research, and always, always, always think critically. We can't just passively absorb whatever information is thrown at us. We have to be active participants in shaping our understanding of the world.
Well said. And that's the message we want to leave you with today. If rhetoric and actions are our guideposts, we need to be vigilant about how we interpret political discourse. We need to look at the full picture, not just the carefully curated snippets that are presented to us.
Absolutely. And on that note, deep divers, it's time to wrap up our deep dive into the world of Trump and fascism. We hope you enjoyed this roller coaster ride through the realm of political spin. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode of the deep dive. And most importantly, keep those minds sharp and those critical thinking skills honed. Until next time.